Hello, so I'm back with chapter 2 of the Confidence Code for Girls. I decided to record it this time instead of going live. That way it'll be easier for anyone to just come back and watch it whenever they want to. So this week I'm going to do 2 chapters. So today I'm going to come to you with chapter 2, and then I'll come back Thursday with chapter 3. And this chapter 2 is called Risky Business. I'm sitting outside because it's beautiful out today, and so I thought I'd take advantage of that. Hopefully the background noise won't be too much and you guys can hear me, so we'll see. Anywho, so we're starting off chapter 2, Risky Business. Taking a risk is like taking a big leap of faith. Oh, and this is a picture that's at the top. Taking a risk is like taking a big leap of faith. It's using whatever confidence you have, and maybe some courage and bravery as well, to sail over the dark abyss of whatever scares you. Just listen to how different dictionaries describe risk. One definition of risk is the possibility something bad or unpleasant will happen. Another definition of risk is a chance of getting hurt or losing something. And the third is peril. Peril, getting hurt. No wonder our instinct is to avoid risk. But remember, action, especially action that's hard, is what builds confidence. Risk is exactly what Kayla confronts in Kayla's Big Risk. If you remember, I posted some comics last week, and one of them was Kayla's Big Risk, where she tried out for a basketball team even though she was a little bit nervous. Her friends helped her, then she tried out and didn't make the team, so she was very embarrassed. She felt like she failed. She worries about embarrassing herself or failing, but she goes for it after getting help and good advice from her friends. And that advice was, what do you have to lose? Sometimes, if you don't have a supply of confidence, you have to rely on boosts like that, or even sheer will, to fuel your first move. But once you start, you'll get into a confidence-creating zone pretty quickly. In this chapter, we'll offer you a 7-step plan to get you through your early risk-taking jitters. One girl we talked with, Lucy, said she totally hates risky stuff and wanted to puke, but she finally figured out how to take a leap. So here we have a confidence close-up about Lucy. Starting when she was 11, Lucy had a regular babysitting gig, taking care of a little boy while his parents did laundry or caught up on chores around the house. But after a couple of years, the boy's parents started having her babysit at night when they went out. Lucy got to do the whole bath, story time, bedtime thing. It was fun, but also lots more work and responsibility. Lucy realized she wanted to ask the parents to pay her more, but the thought of actually having that conversation made her anxious. She really liked them, and they were always nice to her and left great snacks. What if they got mad? What if they got offended, thinking that she didn't like the kid? What if they thought she didn't deserve more? Her stomach hurt just thinking about the conversation. Been there. By talking the situation through with her own parents, she figured out a way to bring it up. She also made a mental list of what she could say. I love working here, and I feel confident that I'm doing a good job. My responsibilities have gotten bigger, and I think it would be fair for me to start charging more money. So that was what she was thinking in her head of saying to the family. So when the boy's parents returned after a movie one night, Lucy blurted it all out. Maybe not as perfectly as she'd practiced it in her head, but she put it out there immediately, and she felt better. And the parents totally agreed, coughing up more money on the spot. They even said they felt bad about not thinking of it themselves. They still called her to babysit just as often, and the whole process allowed her to create some confidence. See, so sometimes it's good to speak up for yourself and ask for what you want, and closed mouths don't get fed. Lucy took a risk and it paid off. And maybe this story makes it sound pretty straightforward, but we know it's not always that easy. These steps will help you build your appetite for risk-taking. On the side, they have something here. It says, your risk list. Make a list of 5 risks you want to take. Nothing huge. No saving the world, quitting school, or telling that annoying history teacher that he can't do what he can do with those textbooks. Scientists have found that when people take the time to write down a goal, they are 42% more likely to make it reality. So what are things that you've had on your mind, but that seem a little hard or risky? Try a new instrument, talk to that funny kid in your class, get your confidence notebook or a scrap of paper and take the risk of just declaring them. That already means they are more possible. So that's your risk list. Create a risk list of 5 risks that you want to take, small risks, not huge risks. So start with that. But back to the story. These steps will help you build your appetite for risk taking. Step 1, embracing risk. Before you can go out and attempt a lot of risk taking yourself, you really have to believe in the benefits. Almost every situation you face will hand you choices, and often the most frightening choice is the right one. So here's a quiz. How good are you at spotting the upsides of a risky move? And the upsides are like the benefits. So, scenario 1, or question 1. Jaylin is new to her Arizona middle school and hasn't made any friends yet. She's noticed a group of girls in the cafeteria who seem fun, and she thinks one of them smiled at her the other day, maybe even waved at her. Should Jaylin, A, try wandering over one day, even if they shut her out? B, think about it for another week or so, see whether they show any more signs of friendliness, and then try? Or C, resign herself to being alone for a few months. No chance of utter embarrassment that way. So which one should Jaylin try? And question 2. Libby loves animals. She spent a fantastic week on a school project at an animal shelter, and she came up with an idea for matching abandoned dogs and cats with nursing homes, like the one her grandmother lives. The resident gets so happy when animals visit. Should she, A, do more research and maybe propose it when she's older and has more information? She could probably learn a lot that way. B, just focus on her homework and leave this to grown-ups. She'd avoid risk of humiliation. Or C, head over and speak with the director, even though talking to an adult she doesn't know makes her nervous. And there are probably a million reasons why it won't work. So which one should she do? Here's the answers. Let's break it down. In question number 1, A is the real risk Jaylin should take. Her gut says the girls will be friendly, and she'll never know if she waits too long. B might work, but she also might miss her chance. And then C is clearly not a good move. And for number 2 with Libby, C is where Libby would take the biggest risk, and it's the best move. A could work, but it's so cautious. She doesn't really need to be perfect. She might learn a lot from the director if she tries now. As for B, don't get it started. Okay, step 2. Decide whether it's a smart risk or a dumb risk. This part isn't that hard. We want you to embrace smart risk. We're not talking about diving into the shallow end of a pool or giving out your address to someone online you don't know. Don't do anything that feels wrong or that someone else is pressuring you to do. Smart risks are things that you might typically shy away from, but that in your gut, you know could increase the fun, adventure, and powerful parts of your life. Think about both Jaylin and Libby. They might be disappointed or temporarily embarrassed if they take these risks, but smart risks usually pay off eventually, even if they don't work right away. More on dealing with that in the failure chapter, so there'll be a chapter about failure. So here's a quiz. These risks are straight from the mouths of girls we talk to. What do you think? Are they smart or dumb? 1, joining a new club. It seems scary but fun. 2, sneaking my phone out during school. 3, posting a picture of me and my friend on Instagram, even though I didn't ask her first. 4, talking to new people. 5, trying out a new move on my soccer team, but falling on my butt. 6, running for student council to protest the dress code. 7, letting my teacher know she graded my tests wrong. Or 8, letting my best friend know she hurt my feelings. So we have to think about those. Which ones are smart, which ones are just dumb. And sorry if I'm sniffling, my allergies are acting up. So I guess maybe being outside wasn't the best idea. Smart risk, dumb risk. Which one was that? Reading this book outside with allergies. Oh, there's 2 more. 9, reading my poem out loud to our class. Or 10, skipping school with my friends to hang out at the mall. So which ones are smart, which ones are dumb? And we're not talking about me reading my book outside with allergies. Okay, so here's the answers. Let's break it down. To us, most of these seem like terrific smart risks, except for numbers 2, 3, and 10. 2, breaking a school rule is likely to get you in trouble. Just wait to use your phone until later. 3, posting a pic on Instagram without permission might seem okay, but the right thing to do is ask your friend. So much easier to avoid a problem before it happens. And 10, well, it pretty much goes without saying, skipping school is not a brilliant move. It's just not. Step 3, comfort zone equals danger zone. Of course, the very hardest part of risk is leaving your comfort zone. After all, your comfort zone is just so, well, cozy and comfy. Picture it now, your very own CZ, comfort zone, I guess that stands for. It's warm and inviting, full of beanbag chairs and gigantic plushy pillows, or maybe twinkling lights and plenty of snacks and your furry dog or cat. We all have them, safe little pockets. It's so much easier to stick with what you know, not rock any boats. So much nicer to hang out with the friends you already have, who are already chill. Why not just hide there? The girls in our next confidence close-up told us that for a long time they never wanted to venture out of their comfort zones. And here's a picture of the ideal CZ, nice and comfy. Confidence close-up. Wyatt loves to draw. Wyatt's a pretty name. She's never happier than when she's hunched over in the art room, scribbling away amid clouds of charcoal dust. She doodles in the margins of every sheet of paper that comes her way and covers all the junk mail in her house with her sketches. Sometimes she thinks sketching with a group, maybe making comics together, might be cool. But Wyatt is so comfy within the colors and swirls of her own art zone that she stays put. Fang is an outfielder on her softball team. She has the whole right field to herself and she's super comfy out there. The girls who play first base and shortstop are awesome, so balls rarely come to her. When they do, there's plenty of time to get under them. She plays her position well and never has to deal with feeling nervous. She isn't eager to shake things up and try a different position. Okay, we all need our comfort zones, but we have to be able to leave them to take on new challenges. If we stay, it could get suffocating or boring. Even though doing anything for the first time is scary, trying new things is how you keep learning about yourself and finding out what else you might like. If you'd stay in your baby comfort zone, you'd still be sitting on a blanket, waiting for all the food and toys to come to you. Instead, you pulled yourself up and started toddling around to see what the world has to offer. Keep exploring. Step 4. What's risky to you? Risks are different for everyone. Start to narrow your mental risk list. Zoom in on what makes you nervous. So here's a quiz. What seems risky? A, camping. B, performing in a band. C, having a lab partner you don't know. Or what is scary? A, water slides and roller coasters. B, trying out for a team. C, sharing a song you wrote with other people. Any of these make you feel sick to your stomach? A, skiing. B, giving a presentation to your class. Or C, submitting your drawing for the yearbook cover. So I will say, for me, what seems risky is performing in a band. Yikes. And for what is scary, water slides aren't scary, but roller coasters I do not do, okay? No thanks. And what makes you feel sick to your stomach? I'm gonna be honest, giving a presentation in front of people, it makes me nervous. I cannot seem to shake that one. Okay, answers. Let's break it down. If you picked mostly A's, then physical actions likely tend to make you nervous. If you picked mostly B's, then performance seems risky to you. And if you choose C's, then it looks like sharing something with the world, being vulnerable with strangers, feels like the bigger risk to you. So for me, I guess performance seems risky to me. That's interesting. And keep this in mind. Risk varies for different kinds of kids. Immigrants from other countries, for example, can face challenges that can make their daily lives feel full of risk. Maybe it's about a struggle to speak English, or maybe it's about looking different from the people around them. Farah is from Yemen and wears a hijab, a traditional Muslim headscarf, in her suburban school. Nobody else has one, so for her, simply going to school can feel scary or risky, knowing some people are staring at her. She reminds herself she has a right to be there like everyone else. And maybe the staring is not mean, just curious. That makes her feel better, and she tries to show them that she is really just like they are. For kids who are in wheelchairs or are blind or deal with anything that makes navigating the world a little trickier, taking a risk is a whole other ballgame. It's a constant battle to navigate the physical world and a constant battle to ignore other people staring. And that was interesting. I like that they said sometimes staring isn't someone trying to be mean, it's just them being curious. So that's something for us to keep into mind when people are looking at us, because I know that's something that can push some people's buttons. Step 5, small steps. Researchers have figured out that when you think about a big challenge, it can seem overwhelming. Now here's a thought that we might have in our heads. How the heck do I get from where I am to all the way over there? Ugh, I might as well quit now. They've also discovered that when you pause for a few minutes and break the challenge down into a bunch of small steps, it's lots more achievable. For example, when Lucy wanted to talk to those parents about her babysitting, she broke it down. Her goal was to be paid more. Asking for it seemed almost impossible until she divided it into 4 steps. She listed her reasons, and then she talked about her parents and rehearsed her lines with them. Then she talked to her parents and rehearsed her lines with them. Finally, she picked a time to bring it up. She didn't do it all perfectly, but having a plan and small things to do along the way helped. Sometimes it helps to start with some bridge challenges, a series of little risks, like little bridges, that will eventually lead you out of your comfort zone and right over all the scary stuff you've been imagining. Confidence close-up. Wyatt, the girl who was living her art comfort zone, started small. She was tired of being by herself all the time, but she only wanted to open herself up to other people bit by bit. First, she spent a few weeks thinking. She imagined a gathering of people who liked the same kind of stuff she liked, who wanted to draw or make comics, sketching, and coming up with funny captions. Ultimately, she felt a little bolder and came up with the idea of an art magazine. The next move was the big one. She put up a poster at her school announcing the new magazine and invited other kids to join in. At first, nobody signed up, and she felt miserable walking by that pathetic poster with its empty sign-up spaces. But then, one kid, and then one more, and then another 3 kids put their names down and came to meet Wyatt at lunch. Now they're working on their first edition, full of totally out there drawings and cartoons. It'll be scary to make a bunch of copies and hand them out to strangers, but it's better than sitting all alone in the back of the room. You go, Wyatt. Step 6, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Risk isn't usually fun. It can be very, very uncomfortable, but you will get used to it. It's like eating something you've never tried, wearing something new, or getting over a fear of dogs. The only thing that works is eating a little bit over and over, or wearing that shirt a few times until it feels familiar, or learning to approach and pet the dogs again and again. Sticking with stuff that doesn't always feel good is literally like vaccinating yourself. It's a big shot in the arm against future nerves. Naomi told us how she learned to tolerate severe discomfort and how she made her pain and fear work for her eventually. And here's a confidence close-up about Naomi. Naomi spends hours riding horses. It can be risky and dangerous sitting atop an animal so huge and heavy, but she loves it and wants to be really good. She went to an intense camp where she was given a horse named Lulu. Lulu was totally wild and nearly ruined riding for her. For 5 days in a row, the horse kept bucking and knocking Naomi off. Or the horse would pull down to nibble the grass, making it hard for Naomi to lead her. and she was in so much pain from all the falls. Her back felt broken and she had purple and green bruises all over. It might seem like, excuse me, it might seem like what Naomi was stockpiling was a bunch of hurt and humiliation, but all that week she was building a confidence because she was sticking with it. One time Naomi fell so hard the wind was knocked out of her. She was curled in a ball on the ground thinking, I give up, forget it, I hate this. I'm going to ask for an easier horse. But once she got up again and nothing was broken, she realized she had to stick with it. If she gave up now, all that pain, all those falls would be for nothing. She realized she was feeling stronger, if nothing else. And she told herself the worst had likely already happened. So she kept going, imagining herself as a graceful, strong rider on a beautiful, powerful animal, in sync and connected. Pretty soon, she started riding without fear. If she could handle getting thrown by Lulu, she could handle anything. You go, Naomi. Okay. Step 7, be your own coach. When you're finally ready for action, you've got to learn to be your own coach. Here are some tricks of the trade. Visualize. Picture in your mind what you want to happen, what it will really look like. Time to move beyond the what ifs and focus on what it will be. All the big athletes and singers use visualization to get from practices and rehearsals to big moments on the court or on stage. It's what Naomi did on her horse. Scientists have found that by visualizing what you want to happen, you're more likely to make it happen. Really. Talk yourself up. Here are some micro confidence boosts to help you leap. Keep these phrases handy and use them often. I've done stuff like this before and I can do it again. What's the worst that can happen? I've got this. No problem. And I can handle it. Practice. Repetition makes it all feel natural, like it's just part of what you do, not a huge stretch. Rehearse what you want to say or what you want to do. No need to overdo it, but some prep is really useful. Pick your team. Every coach knows a great team is essential. You need to know who's in your corner, which adults and friends will give you the kind of support Kayla got. Start a list and double check it when you read the friendship chapter. Remember this story. One scientist who studies confidence told us that he noticed men kept scoring much better on a puzzle-solving math test he had given many times. Then he studied the women's answers closely. He noticed something. They were skipping a lot of the questions. He realized that when the women were unsure, they often wouldn't take a risk and guess. He told the next group of men and women that everyone had to answer all the questions. What happened? The scores were almost identical. So not taking a risk, not acting, has consequences. Game time. Time for action. If none of the above has worked and you're still terrified, tell yourself you're going to do it afraid. It's a powerful phrase we got from a young girl in New Mexico. Because you can't always wait for those nerves to vanish. What if they don't? So admit you're nervous, but decide to act anyway. Shrug and declare, I'm going to just do it afraid. You have the power to do it. Fang eventually decided to start pushing herself. Oh, this is a confidence close-up, I'm sorry. Fang eventually decided to start pushing herself because standing in that softball outfield got really dull. Counting the clouds and watching other girls make exciting plays stopped being fun. She knew that she hated the pressure of diving for a ball and usually missing it. So she thought, what if I were way better at doing that? She started practicing. She spent hours throwing a ball against the side of her house and then racing to catch it. She was definitely getting more comfortable, but the idea of doing it for real in a game made her feel queasy. Still, when the girl at first base got injured mid-game and they needed a sub, the coach waved Fang over and decided to just run into position despite her nerves. And she decided to run into position despite her nerves without giving herself a chance to reconsider. Time for action, even if she still thought she might puke. She did miss a ball. Actually, she missed a bunch of balls. But she caught a bunch of other ones and had a blast. And now she's excited for next season. Who knows? Maybe she'll try pitching. Fang took a risk, fumbled a bit, but did fine. And now in her mind, some exciting doors have opened. And here's a picture of Fang trying out for her new position. You go, Fang. What she really discovered is what we hope you see. What we hope you see too. There's no way to think yourself into being confident while sitting in your comfort zone. Action and risk are required, and usually we hate to say this, so it'll make the print really small. Some failure too. All right, so that's the end of chapter 2. Nice. That was a great chapter. So overall, we learned that risk is necessary, and we might fail sometimes, but we won't know what we're good at unless we try. So sometimes we have to risk failing in order to figure out what we're good at. Nice. So chapter 3 is called Epic Fail, which I guess is the chapter about failure, and we'll be back on Thursday with that one. But I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter, and I'll see you on Thursday.